Welcome to the Israel Illuminated channel. Today we will examine the topic, Yeshua's end-time prophecies, fulfilled in 70 AD, yet still awaiting a future fulfillment. One of the greatest debates in biblical prophecy concerns the words of Yeshua in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21. Some believers teach that nearly all of Yeshua's end-time prophecies were fulfilled in 70 AD during the Roman destruction of Jerusalem. This belief is called Prehterism. Preterism is a Christian theological view that interprets biblical end-times prophecies as events that have already been fulfilled in history, rather than predicting the end of the world. Others place almost every prophecy entirely in the future. Yet when the scriptures are carefully examined, a more balanced picture emerges. The Bible reveals that some of Yeshua's prophecies were clearly fulfilled in the first century, while other portions still await a future and climactic fulfillment. This pattern is actually very common throughout biblical prophecy. The prophets often spoke of events that had both a near fulfillment and a greater future fulfillment. Like mountain peaks viewed from a distance, prophetic events sometimes appear compressed together, even though centuries separate them. Yeshua's Olivet Discourse follows this same prophetic pattern. One of the clearest prophecies fulfilled in history was Yeshua's prediction of the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. As Yeshua departed from the temple, his disciples admired the grandeur of its buildings. Yet Yeshua responded with a shocking prophecy. "Do you not see all these things? Assuredly I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another, that shall not be thrown down." Written in Matthew 24:2. This prophecy was partially fulfilled in 70 AD, when the Roman armies under Titus surrounded Jerusalem, destroyed the city, and burned the second temple down. The destruction was catastrophic. Thousands perished, and the temple was dismantled just as Yeshua foretold. Yet some argue the destruction was not exhaustive in the fullest sense, since the temple platform and portions of Herod's retaining structures remained still today. On that reading, Messiah's words may have a broader or more complete future dimension still awaiting fulfillment before his second coming, especially if the final upheaval of Jerusalem includes the collapse of all remaining stones associated with the temple retaining walls. Luke's account gives even more detail concerning the first century fulfillment. "But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation is near." Written in Luke 21:20. Yeshua warned those in Judea to flee immediately. "Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains," shown in Luke 21:21. Historical records indicate that many Jewish believers in Yeshua escaped the city before its destruction in 70 AD. Taking his warning seriously, yet this same scenario could also happen again in the future. Yeshua's warning in Luke 21:21 and Matthew 24:16 was for those in Judea to flee into the mountains. Just as believers fled Jerusalem in 70 AD, or during the Maccabean revolt in 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, verses 27 through 28, the book of Revelation, however, appears to describe yet another future flight of the Jewish people to the mountains for divine preservation during the final tribulation. Revelation 12:14 states, "But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent." Here we see a profound truth. Israel, described as the woman, is not only a people of promise, but also a people of preservation. Even in the midst of tribulation, when the pressures of the world intensify and opposition rises against Jerusalem, God himself prepares a place for her protection. Yeshua also prophesied a future scattering and exile of the Jewish people among the nations. "And they will fall by the edge of the sword and be led away captive into all nations." Shown in Luke 21:24. This too was fulfilled after Jerusalem fell to Rome in 70 AD. Vast numbers of Jews were killed, enslaved, or dispersed throughout the Roman world. The exile of the Jewish people became one of the defining realities of history for nearly 2,000 years. Yet Yeshua's prophecy did not end there. He added another important statement. Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Written in Luke 21:24. This prophecy clearly hasn't happened yet. The word until implies that the Gentile domination of Jerusalem would not last forever. This hints toward a future restoration of Jewish control connected with the last days. The modern return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel and the reunification of Jerusalem in 1967 has caused many believers to reconsider the prophetic significance of these events. Yeshua also spoke of wars, famines, pestilences, and earthquakes. And you will hear of wars and rumors of war. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places, shown in Matthew 24:6-7. Yet Yeshua described these events as only the beginning of sorrows. Written in Matthew 24:8. These troubles certainly existed in the first century, but they have also continued throughout history and appear to intensify globally as the age progresses. This suggests that Yeshua was describing ongoing birth pains, leading toward a final climax at the end of the age. This clearly didn't happen completely in 70 AD. One of the strongest indicators that part of Yeshua's prophecy remains future is his warning concerning the abomination of desolation. Yeshua declared, "Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place," shown in Matthew 24:15. Here, Yeshua specifically directs his listeners back to the prophecies of Daniel. Daniel had spoken of a desecrating abomination connected with the Temple Mount in the last days. Daniel 9:27 states, "And on the wing of abominations shall be one who makes desolate." Daniel 12 connects this event with the time of the end and an unprecedented period of distress. "And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time," shown in Daniel 12, verse 1. Yeshua echoes this exact language in Matthew 24. "For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world, until this time, no, nor ever shall be," shown in Matthew 24:21. While the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD was horrific, many believe the global scale described by Yeshua exceeds the events of the Roman siege alone. There were even earlier foreshadows of this prophecy. Antiochus IV Epiphanes desecrated the temple in the 2nd century BC by setting up pagan worship and sacrificing unclean animals. Later, the Romans brought destruction upon Jerusalem in 70 AD. Yet these events appear to function as prophetic shadows of a final future fulfillment still to come. The Apostle Paul also spoke of a future man of sin who would exalt himself on the Temple Mount. "Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, so that he sits as God in the Temple Mount of God, showing himself that he is God." Written in 2 Thessalonians 2, 3-4. Likewise, the book of Revelation describes a future setting on the Temple Mount area with an altar existing during the final days. "Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod. And the angel stood saying, 'Rise and measure the Temple Mount of God, the altar, and those who worship there.'" Written in Revelation 11:1. These passages strongly suggest the future Temple Mount area under the control of the Jews connected to the end times and the final abomination of desolation, and possibly under a sharing arrangement. Another major reason many believers reject the idea that all prophecy was fulfilled in 70 AD is because Yeshua's visible return did not occur at that time. Yeshua declared, "And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." Written in Matthew 24:30. This worldwide visible coming did not occur during the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. The angels also declared after Yeshua's ascension, "This same Yeshua who was taken up from you into heaven will so come in like manner as you saw him go into heaven." written in Acts 1:11. The prophet Zechariah adds further detail. And in that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. Written in Zechariah 14:4. This points to a literal future return of Messiah to Jerusalem. The scriptures therefore reveal a dual prophetic pattern. The destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD fulfilled Yeshua's warnings concerning the temple, the siege of the city, and the scattering of Israel. Yet many prophecies remain future, including the final abomination of desolation, the revealing of the man of sin, unprecedented worldwide tribulation, and the visible return of Yeshua to reign. The modern restoration of Israel also plays a major role in this discussion. The prophets repeatedly foretold that the Jewish people would one day return from the nations back to their land. Ezekiel prophesied, "I will take the children of Israel from among the nations, wherever they have gone, and will gather them from every side and bring them into their own land." Written in Ezekiel 37:21. Zechariah likewise foresaw Jerusalem becoming the center of global conflict in the last days. "For I will gather all the nations to battle against Jerusalem." Shown in Zechariah 14:2. These prophecies indicate that Israel and Jerusalem remain central to God's prophetic plan even after the events of 70 AD. Yeshua's prophecies, therefore, should not be forced entirely into either the past or the future. The destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD served as a real historical fulfillment and a powerful warning. Yet it also foreshadows a greater end-time fulfillment still ahead. The Bible reveals a prophetic pattern in which earlier events anticipate a final climactic conclusion at the return of Messiah. As history moves forward, the words of Yeshua continue to stand true. Jerusalem remains at the center of world attention, Israel has returned to the land, and the nations increasingly rage around the city spoken of by the prophets. These realities remind believers that God's prophetic promises are unfolding exactly as the Scriptures declared, and that the ultimate fulfillment awaits the glorious return of Yeshua the Messiah. Thank you for watching the Israel Illuminated channel. If you like our channel, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.